heard several grass to grace stories, but not the other way around. Forbes once listed Anil Ambani as the 6th richest person in the world. Years later, the once-upon-a-time business tycoon is knee-deep in the fight to uphold what's left of his reputation and barely escaping the possibility of facing jail time. Anil Ambani is an Indian businessman. He was the chairman of the Reliance ADA group, which was created in July 2006 after a demerger from Reliance Industries Limited. He leads several stocks-listed corporations, including Reliance Capital, Reliance Infrastructure, Reliance Power, and Reliance Communications. He enjoyed massive professional success, but unfortunately, it was short-lived. In today's video, we'll be exploring the untold grass-to-grace story of Anil Ambani. Personal life. Anil Ambani came from a lineage of successful working-class people. His father was a businessman, and his mother was a professional actor. Early in Anil's life, he and his brother, Mukesh Ambani, were familiarized with their father's business. They were often given incentive-oriented tasks, and like every other parent, Anil's parents expected that they were on their best behavior whenever they had visitors, especially because their visitors were mainly influential people. At work, they were taught the intellectual side of business. At home, they were instilled with the exemplary character and etiquette of a successful business owner. Anil Ambani received formal business education from Kishinchan Chelaram College and obtained a master's in business administration at the Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania. After his graduation in 1983, Anil joined Reliance Industries as an executive dealing with business investors and the press. Early career. By 2002, Reliance had grown into a $15 billion corporation, but Anil Ambani's father died suddenly, without a clear succession plan. Both of his sons had been trained and oriented about their family business, and they believed that each of them had equal rights to take over from their father after his death. This created a rivalry between the two brothers, leading to their infamous family feud. After 3 years, their mother finally devised a plan to split the family's business between Anil and Mukesh. Anil Ambani received parts of Reliance Group interested in telecom, entertainment, financial services, power, and infrastructure. In the early 2000s, these businesses had a lot of prospects, and in no time, the Reliance Group was worth more than twice its initial value. In 2008, Reliance Power, a faction of the Reliance Group, was subscribed in less than 60 seconds. Due to this, Anil Ambani was credited with India's largest initial public offering, IPO, a title that's still valid to date. Another of Anil Ambani's companies dominating India was Reliance Communications, RCom. RCom was an Indian mobile network provider founded in 2004. It offered voice services as well as 2G, 3G, and 4G internet services. RCom was India's most successful telecom business, with cheap tariffs and fast internet services. After being established in GSM services, RCom partnered with Lenovo and began producing branded Android phones in 2013. On the entertainment scene, Anil Ambani was prospering too. He made his debut in entertainment in 2005 by acquiring stakes in major entertainment industries. These industries included Ad Labs Films, where he was a major stakeholder, and in 2008, the company was renamed Reliance Media Works. The company was involved in film processing, production, exhibition, and digital cinema. Later in 2008, Reliance Media Works was cast in the global spotlight after $1.2 billion of a collaboration with DreamWorks production company. Anil Ambani's company contributed to several blockbuster movies from DreamWorks, including the Academy Award-winning movie Lincoln. At this point, Anil Ambani was India's most successful businessman, with his companies at the forefront of the fastest-growing sectors at the time. He was the richest person in India and the 6th richest person in the world, with his net worth summing up to $42 billion. However, it wasn't long before things suddenly began to go downhill, and India's richest man was soon left with almost nothing. What went wrong? Anil Ambani's business suffered the most unthinkable fate. A series of events occurred over 7 years, leading the once-upon-a-time business mogul into aggressive bankruptcy. A failed deal with MTN. In 2008, Anil Ambani's multi-billion-dollar telecommunication company was increasing in debt. In a bid to save RCom, the leading service provider in India, Ambani started having conversations with MTN, a successful telecommunication company in South Africa. The deal proposed that RCom and MTN merge into one mega mobile company. Due to some legal issues, however, the deal with MTN fell through, and Anil Ambani's plan to pay off his company debts was unsuccessful. The 2G spectrum case. The 2G spectrum case was an alleged scam that happened in 2011, in which some government officials and private telecommunications companies were accused of selling and allotting underpriced 2G spectrum licenses. A Raja, who was the telecom minister in 2007, was accused of selling those underpriced licenses to favor some specific telecommunications companies, which were not eligible to apply for 2G licenses. Gautam Doshi, Hari Nair, and Surendra Pepara, who were executives in Arcom, were caught up in this case. The Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, arrested these officials on suspicion of conspiring to acquire these underpriced 2G licenses for companies that Arcom had invested in to increase their share prices. The involvement of his company in this scandal was a dent in Anil Ambani's reputation. He was questioned by the CBI and he testified on behalf of his employees in court. Although his company's entanglement in the case was solved, the company's finances were dealt a significant blow, and Anil Ambani's net worth collapsed to less than $8.8 billion. The entry of Reliance Jio in 2016. After their father died without a will, the matriarch of the Ambani family decided to split their father's fortune between their sons. While Anil got telecoms, power, and financial service businesses, Mukesh got the rest of Reliance Industries, which had interest in oil and gas exploration, petrochemicals, infrastructure, and textiles as well. The split created a turbulence in the relationship between Anil and Mukesh. In fact, they weren't on speaking terms. Before they went their separate ways in 2005, the Ambani brothers signed a non-compete agreement. The agreement prevented Reliance Industries and Reliance ADA Group from competing in the same business sphere. After years of separation, each brother had built a multi-billion-dollar empire. And after so much nudging from the Indian public, Mukesh and Anil Ambani made a step towards reconciliation. To publicly announce their reconciliation and foster cooperation between their companies, they decided to terminate their non-compete agreement, or more accurately, redefine its terms. Reliance Industries and Anil's Reliance ADA groups they agreed to cancel all existing non-compete pacts the groups had signed in 2006, and they've entered a new non-compete pact only for gas-based power generation. In 2016, this reconciliation arrangement backfired and cost Reliance ADA Group almost everything. That year, Mukesh Ambani decided to launch a telecom company named Reliance Jio, which was a nationwide 4G wireless network. This lured a lot of customers from other companies with free calls and their cheap plans. Jio's entrance into the telecommunication industry affected all of the leading telecom companies in India, including Arcom. At the time, Arcom was struggling to keep up with the rapidly growing wireless phone business. With their crumbling finances, the only way to stay above water was to incur more debt. With companies feeding off of each other's subscribers and the tension that Reliance Jio's introduction to the market had created, Arcom lost its position as the number 3 network provider. At the end of this year, Anil's net worth had been reduced to $2.5 billion. The Ericsson case. In 2013, Arcom signed a multi-year managed services agreement with Ericsson, a Swedish network company. The deal involved Arcom managing the service of wireline and wireless network of 100,000 kilometers of fiber and mobile infrastructure in 11 telecom circles in India. This business relationship went smoothly for 3 years until Reliance Jio barged into the telecom market and Arcom's finances were crippled. Arcom struggled to pay her dues in 2017. And although the deal with Ericsson was terminated, Arcom owed the Swedish company over $80 million. As a result, Ericsson filed a lawsuit against Arcom. And in 2019, the court ordered that Anil Ambani pay off his debt, along with interest, all within a month, or face jail time. Unexpectedly, Mukesh Ambani, who was now the richest man in Asia, stepped in last minute to save the day. The day before the end of the month, he paid the money owed to Ericsson on behalf of his brother, saving him from his jail sentence. The failed deal with Reliance Jio. At this time, Reliance Jio was the number 1 telecom company in India. In a desperate attempt to pay off her creditors, Arcom agreed to sell her telecom assets, including fiber, towers, and airwaves, to Jio in December 2017. However, regulatory and legal obstructions stalled the process. With no hope that the process was going to be any faster, Arcom ultimately decided to enter bankruptcy proceedings after drowning in debt worth several $billion. More loans. Anil Ambani had been struggling with debt since 2009. The existing scandals adversely affected the financial state of his company, and with his fast declining net worth, he struggled with paying off these debts. Anil Ambani incurred more debts to pay off already existing ones, and this drove him way deeper into debt. In 2012, he borrowed $1.2 billion from the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, Export-Import Bank of China, and China Development Bank. Over the years, he struggled to pay more than half of what he owed, and he still owed $716 million, including interest. In February of 2020, Anil Ambani was in a legal battle with these Chinese banks. The court asked him to set aside $100 million, which led him to confess that his net worth is currently zero after assessing his liabilities. He told the court, in summary, "I do not hold any meaningful assets which can be liquidated for the purpose of these proceedings." Although he pleaded poverty, the case is still ongoing, and the court insists he pays off his debt that the 3 Chinese banks have on him. The undoing of Anil Ambani is an unfortunate story. From being the richest businessman in India to the 6th richest in the world, in 2018 he had dropped to number 68 in India. By 2019 he was number 1,349 in the world's list of billionaires. And by the beginning of 2020 his name was dropped from both lists, marking his depths. And that's a wrap for how Anil Ambani went from $42 billion to $0. Thanks for watching.